Welcome back to Done with Adulting podcast. Hello, Jared.
Hello, AJ. How you doing?
I'm doing the best we can do. How are you doing?
Same. Tired.
Tired. Like, how tired are you? Like, I feel exhausted as fuck.
Yeah, because we were supposed to record Thursday, and I was like, yo,
We just can't.
yeah, can't do that now.
Oh my God. I can't even articulate. Clearly, I'm still having issues with that. But we're going to try to do it today because today we are going to get into a deep conversation about all the bullshit that has been happening in the past 300 years of American history.
In the beloved U.S. of A.
We're going to get into this and share our thoughts and feelings about all that's been going on with the murders and the riots,
The protest. It's
the
not called
protests.
riots.
You're right. Thank you for that correction. The protests. But before we do that, we wanted to just share a little information about 3 important people whose lives were cut short this year. We want to take a minute to tell y'all about them and just sort of honor their lives before we get into the nitty-gritty. So, first person we want to talk about is Ahmaud Arbery. Ahmaud was born on May 9th, 1994. He was a son, a brother, and a friend. He attended South Georgia Technical College for about a year and a half, but stopped when money got tight for his family. He was planning to go back to school to get his electrician certification. Ahmaud was also dedicated to living a healthy life and staying in shape. His first passion in life was football, which he started playing at the age of 6 and through high school varsity. He is described by his family and friends as a real, genuine person who spoke and did everything from a place of love.
On February 23rd, 2020, Ahmaud was on a run in a neighborhood about 2 miles away from his home in Brunswick, Georgia, when 2 white men, Gregory McMichael and his son Travis, shot him 3 times and killed him. Gregory and Michael claimed that they grabbed their guns and followed Ahmaud because he appeared to be the person on surveillance video committing several break-ins throughout the community. Glenn County Police told USA Today they had no records of home break-ins or burglaries between January 1st and February 23rd in that neighborhood. Ahmaud's life was cut short at the age of 25, and his murderer stayed free for 74 days before being charged with his murder.
Breonna Taylor. Breonna was born on June 5th, 1993. She was a daughter, sister, niece, significant other, and friend to many. She was a certified EMT who had 2 jobs at hospitals in Louisville, Kentucky, and worked long hours on the front lines fighting coronavirus. She was planning on becoming a nurse, buying a house, and starting her family. According to her family and friends, she was kind, honest, and hardworking. On March 13th, 2020, Louisville Metro police officers entered Breonna's home unannounced with a warrant that contained a no-knock provision. This means police could enter her home without identifying themselves as law enforcement. Police believe that a suspect in a narcotics investigation used Breonna's home address and wrongly suspected Breonna may have been involved as well, which is why they were able to receive this warrant.
Breonna and her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, were woken up out of their sleep with the impression their home was being broken into. Kenneth, who was a licensed gun owner, fired a shot out of fear in self-defense, and the 2 were met with 20 bullets from law enforcement. 8 of them hit and killed Breonna. Breonna's family lawyer alleges that Louisville Metro had apprehended the suspect they were looking for the day before they raided Breonna's home. Both Breonna and Kenneth had no prior drug arrest history. No packages or drugs were found in Breonna's home. Breonna died that night at the age of 26.
Lastly, George Floyd. Originally from Houston, Texas, George was a phenomenal football and basketball athlete as a young adult and was talented enough to earn a basketball scholarship from Florida State University. Due to academic struggles, he was unable to attend the university and began pursuing a music career. He became a father to 2 daughters who are now ages 6 and 22. His friends and family describe him as being well liked by all and known as a gentle giant. After running with the law in Houston during the early 2000s, he relocated to Minnesota in 2018 in search for a better life.
In Minnesota, he was able to work as a truck driver, bouncer, and security guard at a local restaurant where he was known for giving out hugs to incoming patrons. George had recently lost his job at the Salvation Army due to the COVID-19 pandemic, On May 25th, police were called to the scene under the suspicion that George had written a bad check. Video surveillance shows footage of George being completely compliant with police directions during the arrest, leaving his car and sitting on the ground peacefully, incooperative, with handcuffs behind his back.
Police officer Derek Chauvin decides to kneel on George's neck while he is face first on the ground. George cried for help and screamed that he could not breathe for 4 minutes before it became apparent that he had lost consciousness. Even after that, Officer Chauvin continued to kneel on his neck for an additional 4 minutes, eventually causing the death of George Floyd. We will learn later that Officer Chauvin actually worked with George Floyd as a security guard in years prior. George was 46 years old. We want to take a few minutes to humanize these victims for you all to show you that they're not just hashtags. They had full lives and families that loved them before they were murdered. Now we just want to take a quick moment of silence to honor these individuals. All right, so Jared, let's get into it. I want to start by asking you sort of just like how you feel about their stories. Obviously, we highlighted these three because they were the most recent murders that have happened this year, but we know that this happens a lot every year, even if we don't know the names of some people. So I just want to get first your initial thoughts about all this, how you're like, how the week has been for you mentally, especially from the perspective of a Black man.
I mean, it's been longer than the week, honestly. Like
This is true. This is true. This is
Ahmad
true.
Ahmad got killed what, February? No.
Yeah, 23rd
Yeah, so he got killed in February. We didn't find out until maybe 3 weeks ago.
March.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or March. No, it was March or April,
I thought we found out the end of March and then it was like a
leading into
month
April.
before it was like a month before they were arrested.
Well, even that, just like seeing that story online,
Mhm.
and I didn't watch the video. I didn't watch that video. I didn't watch George's video. It's just like I'm just tired of seeing people just get killed online
Yeah.
for absolutely no reason at all. And just like all three of these stories, like the worst part about this all is that there's people still out there who will try and justify any three of these killings, and I think that that's just absolutely ridiculous. And that's something that just makes my blood boil. Like not even the fact that these like the people who did these murders they haven't got arrested yet, or well, I guess George's killers he got arrested, but just the thought that there's people out there who could see this and understand what's going on and still try to justify that these kids or these people, these adults should have been killed in that type of way.
Right.
Just living their life, doing absolutely nothing. Like imagine I take a run around my neighborhood all the time.
I was just about to say, Jared, I was like, literally, specifically with Ahmad's case, like, you run like, all the time, at least 4 times a week. You have family in Georgia.
Yeah, I've ran around neighborhood like my mom's neighborhood in Georgia before.
You could be in Georgia, just like Ahmad, on a run, just like Ahmad, minding your business. Like, this could have been you, which is like the scariest thing to say out loud and to think about. But, like, how does that actually, like, how does that make you feel truly?
It's scary. I'm not a fearful person, so like even when I'm in Georgia running around my mom's neighborhood, like before I go out, I understand that that could be a possibility that somebody could see me running, not recognize me, call the cops, or try to approach me,
Hmm.
and that goes through my mind. But then once I go out there and run, I don't let it hold me back. Like I don't make it stop. Like I'm not going to live my life in fear because of other people's prejudices and their racism.
Right.
But it is scary, and that's just something like as a black person in certain areas and just basically in this country, like you have to do certain things so you're not looked at as a threat, or you're not looked at as scary, and you could just
Yep.
be a regular normal kid, college graduate, a young professional doing everything right, but just because your shade of skin or your skin color is darker than the majority, they'll look at you a certain way without even knowing you.
Right. And I feel like you and I have talked about this off the pod before, but like what you said about making like every day when you're black, every single day that you go outside knowing that it's a possibility that your life is in danger, and doing things to go out of your way to make people, know that you're not a threat, whether it's like smiling at every like white stranger that walks by you, or like
Giving them a
whatever
little
it is that you
wave, giving them
do.
a little
Yeah.
wave, and I hate doing that because I don't want to
I
wave at
hate
you.
doing that.
I don't want to wave
Exactly.
at you. I don't know you. I don't care about you. I could walk right by you and not have to say anything to you, but I'm gonna do it 5 or 10 feet out just to make sure that you're not scared.
Exactly. But and then I was thinking, like I saw something on Twitter, which I think I sent it to you. I can't remember, but it was talking about how that is a challenge, especially during coronavirus, because we're all wearing fucking masks.
Yo,
So,
when they told us to wear masks, my first thought is I'm gonna walk into these stores with a mask on,
yep,
and I'm gonna be perceived as a threat. And that was my first thought when they said masks were
wear a
mandatory.
mask.
I'm
Even
like,
though everyone else has to wear a mask too. Even though if we walk into a store with masks and everybody is wearing masks, like the fear of having to wear a mask and walk in somewhere, especially in places that are not as diverse, such as Massachusetts suburbs, it's scary as hell because I know that like I can try to smile behind my mask to show you through my eyes that I'm not a threat, but
you're not gonna know.
you're not gonna know.
And then
And
especially now, like they want people to walk outside if you're just walking or running outside with a mask on. Imagine if Ahmaud was running through Georgia with a
with the
mask
mask
on.
on.
That would have made it. They would have tried to justify that even more.
Right.
Like it's absolutely ridiculous. And just like me personally, like I go through things, or like it's pretty much right now. I'm 28 now. I've been doing it my whole
Mhm.
life, so now it's
Mhm.
just like a subconscious thing that I just go out of my way to try and make other people feel comfortable when I'm around strangers, or I do certain things that other people don't have to do to
Yeah,
make
yeah,
them
yeah.
not be seen as a threat. And I've been doing it my whole life because that's what you have to
Me
do
too. Yeah.
when you're a black individual. Now you do it and you don't even know you're doing it. It's just part of your life. You just keep
Right.
doing it and doing it and doing it, especially with the more
Stuff like this happen.
well this and like the more white people you're around.
Yeah, true. I was gonna say too that like even before, like all of our lives, like you're saying, we've been dealing with this all of our lives. Like
This isn't anything
now,
new.
this isn't anything new. George Floyd's recorded murder that was, I feel like now that is finally getting the attention of other white people who may have been neutral on the issue before, or just like staying out of it or whatever the fuck they were doing. Um, because it's so in your face, right? Like he really wasn't doing. He was laying on the ground. There's a full 8-minute video of him being the life slowly sucked out of him. So
Did you watch the video?
I did watch it. I regret watching it, but I did. Um, but so now everyone's paying attention, right? And we're seeing protests and all these types of things. But like, I just need to express that even prior to all these new woke people that have seen George's video and are jumping on board with our fight, like every single day that Terrence or my brother, who is a 6'5", 20-year-old black man, he's literally huge. You've seen him. Anybody, my cousin, I have 20 cousins. Like every time those people step foot out of the house, feel like of quick, and it's like we're used to it because we've been doing this our whole lives. But you get that quick burst of anxiety, like you say that quick prayer, like I pray that they go to their destination and come back alive, and then you move on with your life. But I just feel like I needed to say that and point that out because when Terrence leaves the house without me, like every time he leaves the house, I'm saying something along the lines of be safe, like whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Especially he's not from up here. He doesn't.
text me when you get there, like send me your location. Like these are all things we have been doing our entire lives, right? And I feel like that's what some people are not understanding. They're like, wow, this guy was really murdered in cold blood. Like, What do you mean, wow? This is literally been going on for 300 years. I don't understand
Well,
the
no,
surprise.
they're surprised because they can justify it. They think they could justify it. They think the victims either deserved it or they didn't comply well enough. But I mean, if I'm sleeping in my bed and the cops break into
Right.
my house and shoot me, like, in what way do you want me to comply? If I'm handcuffed on my face with a
Right.
knee in my neck, what more do you want me to do? I'm complying.
Right.
So you can comply, you can listen to the police, you can listen to authority, and they're still going to kill you. That's the way a certain group of people in America have to look at things.
No, I was gonna say too. I was watching this video of Breonna's family, like a news interview, and they were interviewing her one of her best friends since childhood. And her friend was like, basically she was obviously upset. She's sobbing, she's crying, she's saying like she doesn't deserve this, da da da. But one of the things that she said that stood out the most was like, in specifically in Brianna's case, where the police, whatever, they had suspicion that she could have been involved in a narcotics case, whatever the reasoning is that they had the warrant to bust in her house in the middle of the night while she was sleeping. You did that, right? You busted in, you murdered her, you did your search, you completed your warrant, you found nothing. And her friend was like, so now that you have not found anything, why can't you just own up to the fact that you made a fucking mistake and murdered my friend for no reason? Like, you
Bro,
had the reason when you went in there.
they already had the person they were looking for in custody. Like, how incompetent do you have to be as a police department to allow something like that to happen and then there be no repercussions after that? That makes no sense at all. That makes no sense. And if I ever come across a person, if I ever see a person trying to justify any of that,
Okay, so this is another thing I want to talk about. Well, first of all, before we get into that, you asked me if I watched the George Floyd video. Did you watch it?
no, I didn't watch any of them. That or the Ahmad. I'm just getting tired of seeing. I'm getting tired of seeing it now. Like,
Yeah.
I literally grown up my whole life seeing videos
Yeah.
of people getting killed on the internet, and I'm just tired of seeing it now. I don't want to watch him.
Yeah. Yeah.
This man was crying for his mom.
Yeah.
He's a grown man.
It was hard to watch. Um okay, so this is another thing I want to talk about. So, we've been seeing a lot of things on Instagram, people reposting. I've reposted a couple things that say like, all the people in our lives, like non-black people in our lives, we are now officially, I mean, I was always paying attention. I'm not even going to lie to you, and you know that. Like, I could tell you which one of my friends would ride or die for me. You can go through the list, but I think now more than ever, people are starting to really pay attention to the people who are in their life who are not black and how they're reacting to this. Because for the first time, for a lot of people, like I said, maybe not for you and I, but I feel like for the first time for a lot of people, they're no longer accepting silence from people in their lives who are not black. Like before, they might be like, oh, well, she didn't say anything about it. Like, not making a big deal about it. You know what I'm saying? Whereas
Yeah.
now, I feel like everyone's reposting, like, if you're white and you're a part of my life, or if you're not black and you're a part of my life, and you're doing any of the following things, avoiding the conversation about the topic, staying neutral, saying you don't see color, or literally just simply saying nothing, you're a part of the problem. And I'm noticing that. Like, now I'm
Honestly,
taking note.
like, to me, I don't even care. Like, cause I already didn't expect that from them anyway.
Can you clarify that? You don't care. You're saying that you don't necessarily care at all.
I already put them, like, they're already at a position in my life that I already know that, like, I already know that they're not gonna post anything about it or even like acknowledge it. And that's fine. And I keep those type of people at a distance. Like the people who are close to me, who, like, I would call my family, who are my ride or dies. I already know what their thought on the situation is, and I've already seen the work that they're willing to do to put in to change. These other people who are in my life that I'm around all the time, or like
Mhm.
I'm cool with, I'm cordial with, they're already at a distance. They're not close to me, so I don't expect much from them. My only issue with people not saying anything is, if you're not going to say anything about the murder, don't then fix your mouth or go out there and type something about the protest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Like
agree with that.
keep that same energy. The reason why they're doing this protest is because this man was murdered for no reason.
Right.
Do not say anything about the murder and just be
Uh-huh.
silent on that and then be vocal about the protest.
So, but is there anybody who, since all this has gone down with George Floyd, has surprised you about their reaction? Like anybody who's close to you?
About them not saying anything?
Yeah, or maybe did what you're saying. Like they said something. They didn't say anything about the murder, but said something about the protest. Or like, has anybody that you
Oh
thought
well,
you
I
knew
mean, some people.
surprised you and are acting a way that you like? You what we're both saying is we knew who those people were before all this and kept them at a distance. I'm the same way. But has anybody surprised you?
I guess I'm more surprised about the people posting and doing this stuff versus the people not doing it. Like I didn't expect any of the white people I follow or any of the white friends to be posting stuff and acknowledging it. But I'm actually
So that's a
so
positive thing.
yeah, I'm more surprised by the people who are. Like there's this one chick I follow from I met her at the boxing gym and she's going ham. She's going ham. Like
Hmm.
she's like livid. And I'm like, oh snap, I definitely would not have pictured that coming from you. And I think that's lit. There was a there's a this chick from work who she's like always protesting. Like I think she's very like progressive. She like
Hmm.
flies out to protest and whatnot.
Hmm.
And she actually messaged me yesterday, like, "Oh, I'm thinking about you, blah 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 blah." I was kind of surprised by that, but I already knew that like she was kind of like an ally anyway. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I knew how she feels on certain topics. So I was just surprised that she actually reached out to me. But I think like that's like people are making that known on social media that you should reach out to your black friends or people or black people in your life. So it could have been from that.
yeah.
But people who are not acknowledging it or not posting it, I'm not surprised at all. And honestly, I don't care at all. Like they're already extended in a certain point of my life. Like I don't think that I would ever bring them in the ride or die circle. You know what I mean? And that's been known since
Yeah,
I met
yeah,
them.
yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does. I've been surprised in both ways. I've received more text messages from people who I never talk to or I'm not that close with, than I have people I am close with. But it's not really about the text, kind of like you said. Like I know who that the real allies have always been, but there were a couple people that I was just a little surprised. Not like I'm saying I need to receive text from all my friends. Please, let's not start that train because I can't. But I was just surprised that I didn't see any, not even just posting on your social, but I've even had friends like DM me from something I post and say like, just a few kind words like,
Yeah, but so that surprises you, and that kind of hurts you, and you thought your friendship was at a different point, right?
yeah. I mean, this is like a select number of people.
So you had like I mean, you had a higher,
Expectation.
yeah, you had a higher expectation of that individual. Like I didn't have any high
Yes,
expectations for
yes.
any of these people who aren't posting. So I think that's where we differ. Like I just had no expectations of them, and that's just the way I move.
Right.
I don't know if it's a. It could just be a me thing. I don't know if it's a male versus female thing or
No, I think like I in many ways move the same way, but like I'm talking about people I've known for,
your whole life.
yeah, or like 10 plus years. At the end of the day, like every single white ally that we have obviously makes a difference. And so the people who I'm close to in my life that are white that are being great allies, I appreciate to the most fullest extent. However, at the same time, the people who are not showing up for me, I really don't give a fuck. Like I am not, and at this point, we can just announce that I'm addressing these people directly. They know exactly who they are, but I do not give a like I'm not sitting in my bed thinking to myself why this person didn't text me. I'm sitting in my bed thinking to myself, I can't literally go anywhere without Terrence because now I'm going to have Jared, literally yesterday, we were driving past a gas station, and this was the first, for me, like, this was the first moment that I realized that more so than ever, specifically, and I think it's because I did watch George Floyd's video and it was very graphic, more than ever, like, when you're riding down the street and you pass a police car, you're like, oh, fuck. Or if they turn your lights on, you're like, fuck. Like, you get innately scared, right? Like, that's always been a
Yo,
thing.
my heart starts beating
My heart starts beating so fast.
10,000
But the
times a
other
day.
day, Jared, like, and that's always been a thing. Anytime I see or pass a police officer, my anxiety just goes through the roof. But the other day, I drove past a literal gas station. This man was just getting fucking gas. Like, I was driving past the gas station. He wasn't staking out. He wasn't following me. He was at the gas station, and I glanced over at the gas station, saw there was a police officer there, and like the physical feeling that I had. This was like 2 days ago of fear was like stronger and deeper, and anxiety, like I was like telling Terrence to speed up past this gas station because I was about to flip the fuck out. Like, now I have this, and so if I do get pulled over and I'm petrified, right? I'm petrified at the cop even just approaching my window. Those are the behaviors, fear, sweaty, like all that stuff is what makes the cop think that you or I are a threat. So it's just a cycle of like we can't win. That's how I feel. That is like the only way I can express it, and like I just I have like a knot in my stomach right now thinking about the next time I get pulled over. Like, it honestly makes me want to throw up.
All I know is that I'm pretty sure all my black friends, as they were growing up, they were told they need to move and act a certain way when around cops. And I don't know if my white friends or if white people have been taught that or have been told that and actually have had to live that throughout their life. Like when I get pulled
Well,
over, my hands don't move from the steering wheel.
right.
My hands do not move. If they ask me something, I say, okay. I ask, can I reach for it? It's in the glove. If it's in the glove department. Can I grab it?
Yep.
Sure. Like I've had cops tell me, "Oh, you don't have to be nervous." Yeah, okay. Like just grab what you need. It's like okay. You say that, and then I'll go reach for something, and then
You're scared.
now I'm on the news.
You don't even say that, Jared. I just can't even like.
And there's another thing, like people keep seeing these protests and keep seeing people talk about police brutality, and then they just take it to the extreme and think that we're speaking about every single cop. No, we understand that there's good cops out there. I have like 3 or 4 homies who are cops. I have like 2 state troopers, another city cop. I know people. I'm close with people who are cops,
Yeah.
like ride or dies that are cops.
Same.
We understand that there are good cops out there, but when you have bad cops who are killing people unprovoked for no reason, that tarnishes the
And
rest
three
of them
other cops who stand by and watch this dude murder,
for 10
like put
minutes.
his knee in his neck into a person for 8 minutes. So I agree with you. I know cops. I know good cops. I know cops who became cops to help make a change in our system, right? However, those cops, those people who are cops, who are good cops, the ones we know, the ones we don't know, like they're trying to make a living. And the 3 cops that literally stood there and watched this man put his knee on his neck, like if you're standing watching a cop, if you're a cop and you're watching or you let another cop do something that you know is wrong,
You're part of
you're
the
a bad
problem.
cop.
Yeah, you're a bad cop. Like the cops that I know, I put my life on it that they would not have allowed something like that to happen.
And that's why you get the protests against police in general, because what people are feeling is not that every single cop is corrupt in the sense that every single cop is trying to murder us in the world. But the point is, like, there are cops out there who are corrupt, who are murderous, who are part of the fucking KKK. And if you're not a cop who is actively every single day trying to rid our system of those people or stop those people from doing bad things, then you might as well just be putting your knee on our neck the same way Derek Chauvin was.
Yeah, they're bad cops.
It's honestly sickening. There's no way for me on this podcast or in real life to express in words the feeling of anxiety on a daily basis every time somebody that I know steps out of the house. Like it's taking over my body, I think, at this point. And I don't know. And that's how you get to the protest, right? Like that's how you get to where we are in all these cities with the protests. People
Yeah, you
can
have
no
all this
longer
pent up aggression.
Yes,
You have
people can no
all
longer internalize this.
like there's only so much pressure something can hold before it pops.
And everyone's like, "Oh, well, what about peaceful protest?" What do you mean? Like Colin Kaepernick was peaceful protesting for a whole year and you
And
guys
you guys
couldn't
had a
bear
problem
to
with
even
that.
fucking watch it. You couldn't even watch it. Like you couldn't even let this man kneel down and exercise his right of free speech peacefully. Right? You kicked it, you blackballed him, you kicked him out of the league. You called him a disgrace to the country for not honoring the troops. Like
You made it something that it wasn't. You guys turned it into a whole, oh, he's against the army, he's against the flag, blah blah. There's nothing about that at all. It was about police brutality. He stated it clear as day.
So why would people then think that after that, black people would continue to just fucking kneel down? Like I don't.
They undermine the peaceful protest, and then once the violence comes and the riots and the burning, it's all look at these animals, look at these thugs. Okay, you weren't listening when we were doing it peacefully, but now I bet you we have your attention.
I need to just make sure I'm not the only one that feels like this because neither of us have children. But are you petrified to have children? Because I am.
I'm not petrified,
I
but
am
I mean,
petrified.
obviously, it's something you got to think about. I've always thought about this as my life. Like when our kid pops out and they're old enough for me to speak to them, like the first conversation you got to have is letting them know that they're black in America and what that comes with.
Right. And I would like to know, since we have to do that for our future children, I would like to know what my white friends and what and other white people in my circle are doing to raise their children to make sure that their children don't grow up and murder my children.
I don't think it's much.
As we are raising the next generations, though, those are the conversations that I would love for white people to have with their children is like, okay, and now we're thinking as a white person, well, how do I do that? What are some good ways to do that? I don't fucking know. I don't know what it's like to have privilege. So, but some good ideas might be to make sure your child doesn't see a black person for the first time when they get to college, because that's a thing. You know, exposing them to, that's a thing.
Facts.
Like you grew up your whole life until college without ever having, like, not seeing black people. Obviously you've seen them, but you've never had a black person
Interacting
close to
with
you in
them,
your life.
interacting with them as much as you do.
And you know this, Jared, because we go to a lot of white people's weddings, both of us.
Yeah, we're like the only black people there.
And you're looking around. I was talking about this with my friend the other day, and you're looking around at this person who you consider to be a good friend at their wedding, and you're the only black person there, and you're like, wow, I really met this person like 6 years ago in 2014. So you mean to tell me I'm the closest black person that you have in your life from the day you
Facts.
were born to when I met you in 2014?
Facts.
Obviously, you
And it,
don't know how to act around a group of us. You only know how to act around me.
and I'm different than every other black person in the world.
Right. Like, let's not even talk about colorism. Don't let a dark skinned black guy walk up to you. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
Oh no, for sure.
if white people want to help change the system as you're raising your children in generations to come, read then books that have black characters in it. Take them outside of their little box into other neighborhoods, put them in fucking Pop Warner. I don't care what you do, but they need to be exposed to black people as people in our culture and who they are at a young age so that when they grow up and they're 22 years old and they go to college and something pops off and a black guy walks in the door, they're not immediately calling the cops like fucking Amy Cooper in the damn Central Park.
And this is another funny thing. I feel like white people think just because I'm a Democrat, just because I'm a liberal, like you have biases. Everybody has biases. I don't
And
care
it
how
goes back to how you are raised.
I don't
Your
care. I
biases
don't
are
care
how
what
you're
side of
raised.
the fence you're on. I don't care who you vote for. Like she voted for Hillary Clinton. She was a Hillary Clinton supporter. So the normal person would assume, oh, she's a liberal. She's a Democrat. She can't be racist. Okay, so why is she calling the cops on this black man for telling her that she needs to put her dog on a leash?
Because she
And she
saw
knew
someone else do it.
and she knew she was in the wrong.
And she almost killed her damn dog.
And then her first statement, I'm not racist. I'm not racist. So why are you calling the cops saying there's a black man threatening you?
Do you believe that falsely accusing somebody like that, especially a black person who she knew what could the possibility would happen if the police came, should be considered attempted murder?
No, I don't agree with
Or
that.
should be a crime, like a punishable crime?
I don't agree with that. I think that's going a little too extreme. I just think people just need to know and accept their biases and not try to use, I guess, their privilege as a threat. Like if you call the cops and say there's a black man threatening me, that's like you're using that as a threat.
Yeah, but she called the cop knowing that he wasn't threatening her. She calls the cop. Why do you think she called the cop? Because she knew the cop would come and do something based off the
Exactly.
fact that he's
Exactly.
black. So
That's what
why
I'm
so
saying.
you
She's
don't
using
think
that
that
as a
should be a
threat.
crime?
That's what I'm saying. She's using that as a threat. I don't think that should be a crime because that shouldn't be expected of the police to come and just harm somebody because they're black.
Okay, but let's say that happened. Let's say she called the police that day in Central Park. They come and God forbid that man who was like a Harvard graduate or some shit gets murdered. Is she somebody that should be charged in that case because he was never assaulting her in the first place and she falsely accused him?
No, I
Like
don't. I don't
think
think
about
so.
it that way.
I don't think that should be a crime.
I disagree with you.
Just because she calls the cops, so you're gonna you're gonna start charging people for calling the cops. We think that she's using that as a threat. She honestly could have felt threatened. We don't know that. I don't think she felt threatened, but she could have felt that. You don't know that for a fact. So I don't know how you would be able to prove something like that.
I mean, I think that she was calling the cop. I don't think she felt threatened at all. I think she was calling the cops
Oh, in that
because
situation, I don't think she did either. But I'm saying
okay, so in that situation, how can that not how if that situation went a totally different way and
because
that man
it's
died,
still
how is she not also responsible if she is blatantly
because
calling
there's
the
still
cops?
other factors that play into that. It's the cop that would
I
have to
understand
escalate
it's
that
the cop, but
situation.
I understand that, but
If
she's
she calls a cop and the cops come and just diffuse the situation and then they both go on their way,
but the whole
oh,
reason
there's really
she's
no
calling
crime
a
involved.
cop is to falsely accuse him of something. She's falsely accusing him. That's why she called the cop in the first place. If she doesn't call the cop doesn't come, he doesn't die in a different situation. That's what I'm saying. So if this situation went differently and she's falsely accusing him, calling the cops just because she doesn't want to hear that she needs to put her dog on a leash and that man dies, she
You
has a
can't say
role to
that
play
she
in
was
that.
falsely accusing of him because you can't tell if she actually felt threatened or not. You cannot prove that. If
I
you go to
mean, you may
court,
be able to prove it in court, but it's obvious she wasn't threatened.
if you go to court, you're not going to be able to prove if that person felt threatened or not.
Yeah.
If you're going through the law of it, so I think it'll be pointless to charge them for that. I mean, they should get ridiculed. They should get socially blackballed, which a lot of these
Yeah, she's
individuals
like, my
do.
life is ruined. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, I think
welcome to our lives every fucking day.
she lost her dog, she lost her job, and then she's probably like socially shamed.
Okay, also,
Probably not around her family, obviously. Her family, her friends, because they're probably all white and don't care about the situation.
so I had posted an Instagram story and asked for people's feedback on this topic, some of our listeners, because I wanted to give them we wanted to give y'all a voice and a place to share your opinion. So I got some responses and I want to share them with you, Jared, and kind of get your take on some of them, but they're going to be anonymous, okay?
Are any of them foul and flagrant? Like, are any of them wild?
Uh, Not really.
Oh, okay.
They're kind of heavy. Like one person said this was more of like a suggestion, but one person said bystanders, other officers and people who record these videos are not doing enough and penalties should exist for false accusers. This is why I brought up the other thing about Amy Cooper. And they said, if you make a call that is falsely accusing someone because you simply judge them and that person no longer lives, that's a problem. This person thinks that we should literally throw away the entire law enforcement training and policies that we have right now and require officers to go through a series of training with emphasis on confronting your fears and privileges when it comes to Black Americans. An example of this might be during your cop training, you literally sit in a room with Black men, no weapons, literally staring at each other, make it like getting in an uncomfortable position to have an uncomfortable conversation to help cops realize that we are humans and that their mistreat brings out the fear and fight in us.
I actually like that. I think that's a great idea. I don't agree with the charging somebody for calling the cops thing, but I agree with everything else. I think the policies and the training should change. Like you got to think about it. The cops are supposed to know all these laws and policies in what 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's not enough time for them
That
to
is not
actually
enough fucking time.
like. You have lawyers going to school for what 2 3 years, taking taking the bar to understand the laws, and you just have cops out there learning the system in 6 months. I think that they absolutely need to do different training. Especially, you got to think about kids who are
Mm-hmm.
like autistic and things like that. The police don't know how to handle individuals like that, and there's plenty of videos and plenty of evidence that shows police abusing their power with kids who are autistic.
Right. That's true too. That's a huge, huge,
So I
huge
think like they obviously need more mental health training. I think they obviously need
diversity training.
diversity training because, but then again, like it's deeper than that. They can go through all these trainings. If the hate's in their heart, it's still going to happen. That's what they
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
weed out.
I was watching this video of this black grandma, and she was saying like before that person became a cop, he was just a regular person, and he already had his beliefs, and then he just brought that to his career. So I don't know what the solution is for that, other than those people that have those beliefs and those prejudices when they go through cop training. Doing something to work on breaking down those things. I think a good idea is what this person suggested would be like sitting those people down in a room with black people and get it. And good cops do that. Good cops who are
They're
partners
able to
with their
understand that.
community,
Yeah.
well, they do it on their own. They go out into the community while they're on patrol, hang out at the park, talk to the kids, get to know the people in the neighborhood. That's what good cops do. They go out on their own and meet the people that their job is to protect.
Yeah, because you got to think about it. A lot of these white cops, they've been around white people their whole life. They haven't been around black people, and then they're thrown into a neighborhood that's they have to patrol that's black. They don't know how to handle black individuals. They don't know how to de-escalate situations.
And why do we let those people police neighborhoods that they don't live in? Why is that even a thing?
You should police your own neighborhood. The cops should look like you wherever you're at.
Why is it not actually a requirement that you have to live in the neighborhood in which you patrol?
I'm not sure.
I can't even. Okay, moving on.
We don't make the laws and the policies. You know what I mean?
If only, right? Okay, so this person said, this is a very good question because I honestly don't know. At what point, or I guess age, maybe you can shed some light on this, Jared, but at what point do my black sons go from being cute to being a threat?
You can't ask me that.
And when they do, how am I supposed to explain that to them?
That's a good question for the Caucasians listening. I can't answer that question for you.
Listening. Okay, well, yes, white people, when you hear this, please let us know at what point do you feel like a black child goes from being adorable to you feel nervous around them? Or maybe it's not an age, maybe it's a certain height or a stature or
True. My nephew. Did you meet my nephew at the wedding? He was massive. He was the usher. Pulled the baby down the aisle.
oh yeah,
He's 14 and he's like your
huge.
brother's size.
Yeah,
Like there's other 14-year-olds who they might think are still cute, but if they see
right.
him, they'll be like, "Oh, that's a threat."
Yeah, so it doesn't actually seem like it's about age. Good point. Maybe we'll get some.
That's a great question though. That's a
It's a
great question.
great question. It's a great question.
Because I mean,
And then
the cops killed Tamir Rice. He was 12 years old.
legit.
There's the one thing I don't understand. How come white kids can play with guns as much as they like toy guns, real guns at the age of like 7 to 10, but then when black kids do it, they're a threat.
How come white people can protest with guns about not wanting to wear fucking masks and be quarantined, and the police just stand around them looking at
No,
them?
no tear gas, no
No
anything.
fucking tear gas, no damn
We're in the middle of pandemic.
armor.
We're in the middle of
No,
pandemic, and these people are yelling and coughing in your face,
they have full
bumping into you.
rifles. They have rifles.
They stormed the state house with rifles. Like, okay.
Nothing literally happened. Nothing happened.
How come white supremacists in Charlottesville can kill somebody with a car and then be called very fine people by the president. But then people who are protesting for a murder are called thugs.
Okay, this is also the thing I want to say. And I don't even, this is now no longer, before this, all this, I was, we're both fuck Trump. He's a psycho. He's a racist. He's insane, right? And I think I have even had a conversation before this that was like, we as Americans must be able to have political conversations and live on two different sides of the political parties without totally hating each other, right? I still believe that. I still believe that
It doesn't sound
Republicans
like that.
and
You about to say something crazy.
I still believe that Republicans and Democrats should be able to be Republican or be Democrat and have successful conversation.
That move the country forward.
However, what I want to say is if whether you're a Democrat, Republican, whatever, if at this point today you don't understand how Donald Trump is directly connected to all the fuckery that we've seen with racism, police brutality, and even coronavirus, if you do not see the connection from him to the shit that is happening in Minneapolis and the other 30 cities in the country that are protesting, and you're still gonna vote for him just because you're a Republican, I cannot fuck with you. This is an official announcement. I don't care who you are. This is an official announcement. I have friends who are Republicans. That's fine. I've never had an issue with them. We've had constructive conversations about that. But this is my official announcement. If I know you and you are witnessing what is happening currently, and you go to the polls in November and vote for Trump and reveal to me that you did that, we are no longer fucking with each other. It's over. It's dead. I'm done. Do you like
It's
this
a
is
dub.
my official statement. It's a wrap. And there's nothing else to say about it because he is clearly a racist, psychotic, fucking hot flaming Cheeto. And I honestly don't care anymore. Like, I don't care. I am not in the position, I am not emotionally positioned to try to maintain friendships, or even I'm talking about family as well, who for people who support Trump. I no longer have the energy. I'm too worried about making sure that you and my cousins and my fiance don't die every time you leave the house, so I can no longer support friendships or relationships or any type of thing where the person I'm speaking to is going to the polls to vote for him. It's just not happening to me because a vote for him at this point means you're saying everything that's happening right now is fine. It's okay to murder black people. It's okay for them to get away with it. It's okay for police to act like the fucking KKK. That's what you're saying. And that is my official fucking statement. You can quote me. I don't give a fuck anymore. This is a very vulgar episode. I should have did a
Mike,
disclaimer before this.
Mike drop. Mike drop.
I want to read one more comment from a listener. And this goes back to what we were talking about how I watched the video and you didn't watch the video. And like why you didn't watch it and what that,
I mean,
effect that it has on you.
there's just so many times you could see the same video over and over again.
Yeah. So one of our listeners sent me an article that I just want to read one blurb out of. And it says, some say the images and videos are essential to ensuring that the truth about what's happening to Black people in the United States gets out. But in the aftermath of the audio and footage of deaths of Alton Sterling in Louisiana, Philando Castile, and now George Floyd, many experts worry about the effect of the constant barrage of brutality on Black adults and children. This is a quote. It can be actually very traumatic for people of color, particularly African American children, to see this sort of thing happening. It really sends a message that Black lives don't matter and that the people who are supposed to be protecting us and serving us can just beat us and kill us with impunity. The world is not a safe place for us, and it can be very, very damaging to the mental psyche of our children. So I wanted to get your opinion on that because I agree. I think it's a double-edged sword. I think on one end, the videos have helped white people see how fucked up it is that how we live our lives every day.
Has it though?
I think the video of George Floyd has because to them, this is the first time that it like how you said they always try to justify the other ones or whatever. Like,
I don't see what's the difference between this video and the Eric Garner video. What's the difference? But there's people out there who like if you can justify that one, and then now you say, oh, you can't. What's the difference? You can't justify this one. You were justifying that one. What is the difference? He wasn't resisting.
Yeah.
The only thing is he wasn't handcuffed.
So do you think that like the videos of this happening is more detrimental to our community than helpful? By our community, I mean the Black community.
Yeah, because I
Because
mean,
our kids are watching it. It's traumatizing. It's traumatizing for us as adults.
the whole camera thing. We thought it would be helpful because we say, oh, if you kill somebody on camera, that's clear evidence that they'll be able to get off. But these cops, they have body cams now. They're still killing people with their
Mm-hmm.
body cams. They're killing people when people are recording. Like, I don't really think it's helping. It's not helping at all. Personally, I don't think so. And us seeing it over and over again as Black individuals, it's traumatizing and it's tiring, and it
Yeah.
just plays with your mental. So I don't think it helps you mentally at all, and it's obviously not helping us in society either because these cops are getting off with it.
Right.
It's just more trauma that we need to see. I keep seeing this thing that says racism hasn't changed; it's just now recorded, but that's not really
Yeah.
helping.
Will Smith said something like that. He was like, they're killing the same amount of us. It's just on video now.
And now I guess it's a little helpful if you record somebody being racist and then the internet attacks them and then they lose their job and lose some other
Yeah.
things. Whoop de doo. That's cool.
They're just white people. They're going to get another job.
I'm at a certain point now where I'm getting tired of seeing the videos.
Yeah.
I'd rather just see something happen. Like stop filming these people be racist to you. Start
Yeah.
smacking
Help.
them around.
Help.
Nah,
Yeah.
start smacking them around. You can film after the altercation is over. And I don't want to hear, oh, violence is not the answer. Violence is not the answer. Keep that to yourself. Don't say that to me, please.
Because obviously the people who are committing the first act of violence, that's the language they speak. They obviously don't speak peaceful language because they're committing violence, so we feel like we have to answer violence with that.
How do you live in America and try to say violence is not the answer when we've been at war for how many years? Like that's what America knows violence. In the history of America, it's a violent history. Been in a war more years than we've been out of a war. Like majority of America's history has been in war.
Yeah.
You keep that non-violence. Keep that away from me.
You want to talk
At this
about
point.
burning
At
shit
this point.
down.
At this
You know how
point,
many you know how much shit the KKK burned down of ours? Anyways,
they burn people.
literally.
They burn
Literally.
people.
And y'all worried about Target talking about looting and
You're
protesting.
talking
Get
about
out of my
conglomerates.
DM. Get out of my DMs,
I don't. I
please.
don't. I mean, I don't agree with the looting and the burning of the city, but there's like I said, there's only a certain amount that people can take before they react differently. And a lot of these people starting the fires are people who aren't even in the community. Like I read an article today that said there were 80 protesters arrested, and 90% of the 80 were from out of the city. They weren't even from Minnesota or Minneapolis.
Right.
That shows you something.
Do you feel better now that we've talked about like we're not going to ever feel better, but I do this is actually the first other than Terrence, you're the first person that I've talked about it too in depth because I haven't really felt the that I had enough energy to talk about it. I actually, you thought I was going to cry on this episode. I didn't. But I do get emotional thinking about people in my life that I care about, such as Terrence and my cousins and my uncles and you being in danger. And me, obviously. But I think black men are in way like more danger than black women. We're all in danger, but clearly you guys are targets at this point.
They see us as the highest threat.
So I get emotional thinking about that, but I'm not going to do that right now.
Another point about like raising the kids and like having that like you're black in America conversation. Like I'm gonna have to have that conversation with Emily's family if I ever want to feel comfortable with having my kids with them and I'm not around. So that's just another added layer to this as well.
I think that you have a unique experience being in an interracial relationship and having to deal with that. Absolutely. I want to commend you and Emily because I think that as it relates to being and having a successful interracial marriage and talking about racism at I mean in race, just even race in general as a factor in your lives having those conversations is super important because there's a lot of people that I know who are in interracial relationships who aren't having those conversations about race. And I'm not here to judge. I don't care who the fuck you marry. I don't care what color they are. But the fact of the matter is
That doesn't even make sense to me. Like, how is that even possible?
when you choose to do that and you're not having active daily or however often you feel like you need conversations about the way race affects you and your relationship and your future children, then what are you how can you even like and I actually was going to ask you, Jared, like even from a perspective of a black man married to a white woman, your wife is hardcore ally. Like we all know M's the shit. However, she's still, no matter how good of an ally she still cannot necessarily identify. She can identify with feeling worried for you and worried about you, but she can't necessarily identify with feeling the fear of like, if I step outside, like my life is in danger. Whereas like Terrence,
Yeah, she doesn't know it
right, which is like Terrence and I, we can sit and pillow talk about that all day long about how it
because we
makes
both
us
live it.
feel.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I wanted to actually ask you what like that experience is like for you and how you navigate that. I perhaps it might be helpful for other people navigating the same thing.
Well, I think that like if we when we have those conversations, she's able to put her not put herself in the shoe, but she's able to understand
Hmm.
where I'm coming from, and then also give her perspective from it.
In a way that makes you feel like you're being heard and that your fears and anxieties are being acknowledged.
Yes, but even though like I said, there's fears, but it's not like fear. Like I go outside and I think about it, and then me personally, I'm like, I wish something would happen because I want to be not I want to be tested, but I look forward to that, and I've already like put it through my mind multiple times of like certain situations on how it could happen and how I would react. So you kind of like prep yourself for it, I guess.
What it sounds like you're saying to me is that you have mentally prepared or gone through in your mind what it might look like if you face police brutality
Or just like a random white guy just saying something to me in the
or
street,
any racist. Well, I
or
think
like
that
somebody
also
just
comes with
approaching me.
practice.
Yeah, somebody just approaching me. So I've already like put that like I already like went through those scenarios in my head and like how I would react. So it's not really.
But do you think it's actually like in some ways a subconscious underlying of acceptance that like if a situation like that were to arise, you might die?
I don't want to say yeah, but I think yeah.
But like subconsciously, right? Like in your mind, you're like, that could happen. And that is what I want to point out is the most fucked up part. Like,
So like when I go through the scenarios, I don't get to that point. Like I get to
oh,
like
okay.
all the steps that I need to take
Yeah.
before it can get to that, and I'm like, oh, I think I would handle it the right way so it wouldn't escalate to that.
Okay.
So I haven't thought of that yet because if I was thinking about just me dying and getting killed by cops and white people all the time, I probably would have went crazy by now.
Well, yeah, I think that's what we're seeing with the protests. I think you have obviously are able to healthily prepare yourself and process and all those things. But I think there are people in our community who really feel like their next run in with a racist person or a racist cop is going to result in death.
Could be the end of it.
And so as you're thinking about that, you think about that all day and night. You think about that all day and night. You look at the people that look like you and think that they could all be dead tomorrow.
You get scared.
Obviously, you get scared. Now we see what we're seeing. Like I'm just trying to make the connection between people being like, this doesn't need to be this way with the protests. Like it does, because there in every other way that we've tried to express ourselves and take deal with it healthily, we haven't been listened to.
Not at all. And even with all the riots and things like that, like there still might not be any change if you want to keep it. If you
Facts.
want to keep it
We'll
real.
find out. We'll find out if he gets convicted. I guess we'll be doing a follow up episode to this. So I don't know. I feel a little bit better.
Also, to your point about like the interracial thing, I think that so I understand when you say like, oh, obviously the white individual in the relationship doesn't live that every single day. But I do
Mhm.
think in a relationship, it is important for them to understand that they can and most likely will see prejudice or racism
Just the fact by being with you.
being with you, and they need to be
Yeah.
prepared for that. That's one thing I tell her all the time. I'm like, there's plenty of times we could be out and then something will pop off, and you need to be
Right.
prepared for that. And then even like when we have kids, and if she's out with the kids and I'm not there, and they see her with like a black child, and somebody says something crazy to her, like
Right.
if she needs to handle that in a certain way for me
Hmm.
to feel comfortable and for me to feel safe. If she handles it like if she just runs away and cries,
Emily would never
and
do
then the
that.
child sees that, like I would be like, nah, there's something
I
wrong
don't see that
here. There's
happening.
something wrong. Like you need to stand up for yourself and for the child in that situation. Like I know people who were with or in an interracial relationship, and then their kid, they like the wife or the white person had something said to them, and they just went on social media and cried about it. And I'm like, I'm looking at a situation like I would be livid if my wife or partner just went and did that with our kid versus standing up and actually fighting for her beliefs and for their own kids' beliefs. Like you running away and crying isn't helping anybody.
Right.
It's just making that person who hurt you feel more empowered.
Well, I think the point of what all this that we're trying to say is like, if you are a non-black person, please figure out the way. Like, if you're silent, you're not on our side. Literally, that's the point I'm trying to make here.
You can't love me and not love my people.
Exactly. So if you, I'm about to be like, so if you like this episode in this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. And if you don't like anything we have said today, please feel free to unfollow and unsubscribe because we are on a no fucks given type of attitude today
Yeah,
and forevermore starting
you
now.
go block me. I don't care.
Facto. But if you're an ally, follow us.
You can't be partially with me. You're either with me or you're not. Can't be partial.
Well, where can they find us?
You can find us on Instagram, Done with Adulting Pod. You can find us on Twitter, Done WTH Adulting. Y'all know where to find us by now.
Seriously. Thank y'all for listening to us vent about the racist world we live in. We hope that you're doing something today that shows your allyship.
And if even if you don't want to be an ally, or even F it, even if you're racist, like cool, you could be fine. Like you could be racist, fine. I understand that there's racist people in the world. Stay away from me. Stay away from my people. Don't be all up in our face. Yada yada yada. When you feel a certain type of way behind our backs.
Karen.
Yeah, don't be a Karen.
All right, yo. Stay safe out there. I'm serious. Talking to you, Jared.
Oh, also, I'm gonna put this out there on the record. If something ever happens to me, don't say, "Oh, he wouldn't want this to happen. He wouldn't want blah blah blah." F that.
Burn some shit down.
Spin the block.